Welcome to the Deep Dive. We cut through all the noise and get right to the heart of what matters. Today, we're diving deep into sustainable AI. It might sound like just another buzzword, but I think you'll find it's really relevant to your business, especially as a decision maker at an SME.
Yeah, you're right. We see so many small and medium-sized businesses. They're eager to jump on the AI bandwagon, but, maybe feeling a little lost about where to start, especially when it comes to doing it responsibly.
Exactly. I mean, it's one thing to hear about all the amazing things AI can do, but it's another thing entirely to actually figure out how to integrate it into your own company, right?
hmm
In a way that makes sense for your specific situation.
Yeah, for sure. And that's where sustainable AI comes in. It's not just about, avoiding risks or anything. It's a framework for making sure your AI initiatives
Yeah.
really align with your values, and contribute to your business's long-term success.
Okay, so let's get specific. Let's say you're a small business owner and you're hearing all this buzz about AI increasing productivity. There was this study, for example, by Delacqua and his team. They found that AI-trained knowledge workers could complete 12% more tasks, 25% faster, with 40% better results. I mean, that's pretty impressive, right?
Those numbers definitely get your attention, but I think it's important to look beyond the headlines a little bit, understand the nuances. For example, Delacqua's study focused primarily on knowledge workers and specific types of sectors. The impact of AI on productivity can vary a lot. It depends on the industry, it depends on what type of work is actually being done, and of course, how well the AI is integrated into a company's, existing workflows.
That makes sense. So it's not like this magic bullet or anything. The small business owner needs to be realistic about what AI can actually achieve for them,
Yep.
specifically. But okay, let's say you've identified some areas where AI could be beneficial. How do you actually start implementing it in a way that aligns with sustainable AI? You know,
Right. That's where this tool called the Sustainable AI Radar can be really helpful, particularly for businesses that are, newer to AI. It's basically a framework that's designed to guide you through the process step by step, ensuring that you're asking the right questions and making decisions that are ethical, but also effective, of course.
okay, I'm intrigued. So tell me more about this radar. Like, how does it actually work?
Okay. So visually, imagine like a wheel, okay, with three different levels. The first level is all about these start requirements, right? Like the fundamental things you need to have in place before you even think about implementing AI. This is where I think a lot of companies, especially smaller ones, might skip a step because they're so eager to just, get going.
So it's like you need to lay the groundwork before you start building like a house or something.
Exactly. It's about ensuring a solid foundation. So,
Okay.
for example, one of the key questions at this level is this AI project truly necessary? You
Oh, yeah.
know, is there like a real need that it's addressing? Or are we just jumping on the bandwagon, because everyone else is?
I can see how that would be crucial, especially for smaller companies that have, more limited resources. You don't want to invest a bunch of time and money into something that's not going to give you any real value.
Exactly. And another key aspect of the start requirements is making sure that the purpose of your AI initiative is crystal clear
Yeah.
and understandable to everyone involved. This might seem obvious, but you'd be surprised how often companies dive into these AI projects without fully defining what they're hoping to achieve.
So it's not just about having a vague idea that AI could be helpful or something. It's about having a, concrete and well-defined goal.
Absolutely. And it's also about aligning that goal with your company's core values. This is where what we call corporate digital responsibility or CDR comes into play. It's like the ethical compass for your AI journey.
CDR. Hmm. That sounds kind of weighty. Can you break it down for us?
A little bit. Sure. So think of it as an extension of traditional corporate social responsibility, but it's specifically applied to how you're using digital technologies like AI. It's about making sure that your AI initiatives are being used responsibly, ethically, and for the benefit of all stakeholders, right? Not just, your bottom line.
That makes sense. So it's about aligning your tech with your values,
Yeah.
you know, like walking the walk, not just talking the talk. Are there any companies out there doing this well?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So Deutsche Telekom, for example, they've implemented what they call people-centric AI guidelines to ensure that their AI initiatives empower their employees rather than replace them.
This is about using AI to augment, human capabilities, not to eliminate human jobs.
Precisely. Another good example is Zalando, the online fashion retailer. They've invested a lot in employee training programs to increase AI fluency across the organization.
That's smart. So instead of just throwing these AI tools at people and hoping for the best, they're actually equipping their employees with the knowledge and skills to understand and use AI effectively.
Exactly. And that leads to a more, successful and sustainable implementation of AI in the long run.
Okay, so we've talked about the importance of having a clear purpose, aligning your AI initiatives with your values, and ensuring everyone understands what you're trying to achieve. So what's next on the sustainable AI radar?
Right. So the second level focuses on the sustainability potentials of your AI initiatives. This is where you start to explore the concrete ways that AI can contribute to, a more sustainable future, both for your business and for the world, of course.
So it's not just about mitigating risks, right? It's about actively using AI to make a positive impact.
Exactly. It's about finding those, win-win scenarios where business success and positive impact go hand in hand.
Can you give us some examples
Uh-huh.
of what that might actually look like in practice?
Sure. So for some companies, it might be about using AI to optimize resource consumption, reduce their environmental footprint. For others, it might be about developing products or services that contribute to a more sustainable lifestyle.
So it's about looking for opportunities to use AI as a force for good, both within your company and in the wider world.
Precisely. And the Sustainable AI Radar provides, a framework for asking those questions and then identifying those opportunities.
Okay, this is fascinating stuff, and we've covered a lot of ground already. Can you just remind us where we are in this journey, with the Sustainable AI Radar?
Right. So we've explored the first two levels, the START requirements, which, laid the groundwork for a responsible AI implementation, and then the sustainability potentials, which challenge us to think about how AI can be used to make a positive impact.
So what's the final level?
Okay. So the third level of the radar is all about embedded sustainability criteria. This is where the rubber meets the road, so to speak.
So this is where we move from theory to practice, actually putting those sustainable principles into action.
Exactly. At this level, you're looking at how to integrate sustainability into every stage of your AI's development and deployment, of course.
So it's not just about the end result, it's about the entire process.
Precisely. You're considering the impact on all stakeholders, not just, your management team or your developers or anything, but also your users, your employees, and even society as a whole.
So it's about taking a holistic view, right?
Yeah.
Making sure your AI initiatives are beneficial for everyone, not just, a select few.
Exactly. And the radar has specific questions to help you evaluate your progress at this level. For example, how transparent are the AI's processes? Can everyone understand how decisions are being made? How does the AI impact employee working conditions? Things like that.
It sounds incredibly thorough. But can a smaller company with limited resources really use this radar? Realistically?
That's the beauty of it. It's actually designed to be practical and actionable, even for SMEs. The radar's questions can be used in workshops, or team discussions to guide your decision-making and make sure you're on the right track.
Okay. I'm starting to see how this could be a really valuable tool for any company, especially those who are new to AI and want to make sure they're doing it right.
Absolutely. And to illustrate how this actually works in the real world, let's look at a company that has successfully implemented the Sustainable AI Radar. Prior One GmbH.
Prior One. I think they build data centers, right?
Yeah.
Not exactly the first industry that comes to mind when you think about sustainable AI.
Yeah, I know. That's what makes their story so compelling. It just proves that these principles can be applied, across sectors, even in industries that aren't traditionally associated with, sustainability.
So how did Prior One actually use the radar?
So they took what you might call a participatory approach. They involved their employees in, workshops and discussions right from the start. They used the radar's questions to kind of guide those conversations and to address any concerns that came up, because they did face some initial skepticism from their employees, which is something a lot of companies experience when introducing AI.
That makes sense. I mean, change can be a little scary, right?
Yeah.
Especially when it involves technology that people, don't fully understand.
Yeah, exactly. But by using the radar, Prior One was able to create, a more transparent process and a more collaborative one, too, that addressed those concerns, head on.
So they weren't just dictating AI from the top down. They were bringing their employees along for the ride.
Precisely. And that made all the difference.
I'm really eager to hear more about how that, played out for them. But before we jump into that, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll dive into the specifics of Prior One's experience and what other businesses can learn from their success. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Before the break, we were talking about the Sustainable AI Radar and how one company, Prior One, used it to successfully implement AI in a responsible and sustainable way.
Yeah, Prior One's a great example of how this framework can really be used in practice, even in industries you might not immediately associate with, sustainability.
Right. They build data centers, right?
Yeah.
So how did they connect that to sustainable AI?
Well, for Prior One, it all started with their company values. They were already a part of this Gemeinwohl economy movement, which prioritizes social and environmental well-being alongside, economic success.
So sustainability was already woven into like the fabric of their business, even before AI came into the picture.
Exactly. But they also recognized that AI could help them, like innovate and stay competitive in a really, rapidly evolving industry. They were basically facing the same challenge a lot of businesses face today. How to embrace new technology without, compromising your values.
And it sounds like they used the sustainable AI radar to
Yeah.
like navigate that challenge. So can you walk us through how they actually applied it?
Sure. So they started with the first level of the radar, the start requirements. And they focused on getting really clear about the purpose of their, AI initiatives. They asked tough questions like, what specific problem are we actually trying to solve with AI? And is this even the most, effective and responsible way to address it?
So it was about avoiding like that shiny object syndrome, making sure they were using AI for the right reasons.
Exactly. And they didn't just rely on their leadership team to answer these questions. They involved their employees in the process right from the beginning, which is really important. They held workshops and used the radar as like a framework to guide, those discussions.
Right. And that's a key point we talked about earlier.
Right.
That whole idea of corporate digital responsibility, making sure your AI initiatives align with your values and actually benefit all stakeholders, not just, the company itself.
Absolutely. And by involving their employees in the process, Prior One was able to address those concerns, like right away, head on, and build a shared understanding of how AI could be used responsibly and, of course, effectively within the company.
So it's about creating a sense of like ownership
Right.
and buy-in too from the very start.
Exactly. And that's one of the key benefits of using the Sustainable AI Radar, right? It's not just a checklist or anything. It's a framework for having those like crucial conversations and then building a culture of responsible AI within your organization.
Okay, so Prior One used the start requirements level of the radar
Yeah.
to define their purpose, right?
Yeah.
And align their AI initiatives with their values. What about the second level, the sustainability potentials? How did they use that?
Okay. So that's where they started to explore the concrete ways that AI could actually help them become, a more sustainable company. They brainstormed ideas for how AI could be used to like optimize energy consumption in their data centers, reduce waste, maybe even develop, more sustainable products and services.
So they were using AI not just to like improve their own operations, but to actually have a positive impact on the, environment as well.
Exactly. And they didn't just focus on like the environmental aspects, they also considered the social and economic implications of their AI initiative. They asked things like, how will this impact our employees? Will it create new job opportunities? Will it help us, better serve our customers?
So it was about taking that like holistic view of sustainability, right?
Right.
And considering all the potential impacts, both, positive and negative.
Precisely. And by using the Sustainable AI Radar as a guide, Prior One was able to identify a number of, promising opportunities to actually use AI for good.
That's impressive.
Mm.
But I'm curious, did they actually see any results from all this? Does it translate into like real world benefits for the company?
They did. In fact, the results were even more impressive than they had, anticipated. By embedding sustainability into their AI initiatives, Prior One not only reduced their environmental footprint, but they also saw a pretty significant increase in employee engagement and, innovation as well.
So it was a win-win. They did good for the planet and improved their like business performance.
Exactly. And it all started with a commitment to using AI responsibly
Yeah.
and, of course, sustainably, guided by the principles of the Sustainable AI Radar. It's a great example of how doing the right thing can also be good for business.
Yeah, it's an inspiring story for sure. But I think a lot of, smaller businesses might hear this and think, well, that's great for Prior One, but they're a mid-sized company. They have more resources than we have. Is the Sustainable AI Radar really feasible? For a small business that might have limited staff and budget?
Absolutely. In fact, the radar is designed to be adaptable and scalable, so it can be tailored to the specific needs and resources of any organization, really, regardless of size.
Okay, that's reassuring.
Yeah.
But even with a framework like the radar, implementing sustainable AI, I mean, it still seems like a daunting task.
Yeah.
Where do you even begin?
Well, it's helpful to break it down into smaller steps,
Yeah.
make it more manageable. And luckily, there's a practical four-step model that was outlined by Michael Wade and Tomoko Yokoi. It was in the Harvard Business Review. And it basically provides a roadmap for businesses of all sizes to start integrating, responsible AI practices.
Okay, I like the sound of that. What are those 4 steps?
Okay, so the first step is what they call translate, which is about taking those abstract ethical principles we've been talking about and turning them into concrete guidelines for your company, like actionable ones.
It's about moving from the what to the how. Like, how do we actually put these principles into practice?
Exactly. And the Sustainable AI Radar can be really helpful in this translation process. So, for example, if one of your company values is transparency, you can use the radar's questions to explore, okay, how do we make our AI systems more transparent to our employees, our customers, the public?
So you're using the radar as a framework to like
Well,
translate your values
yeah.
into, concrete actions related to AI. So what's the next step?
The next step is what they call integrate, which focuses on embedding digital responsibility directly into the design and development of your AI systems.
So it's not just about having a set of, guidelines on paper somewhere. It's about baking those ethical considerations into like the very DNA of your AI.
Exactly. It's about ensuring that responsible AI isn't just an afterthought, right? It's a core part of your, development process. And this is where the embedded sustainability criteria level of the radar comes into play. You're asking questions like, how can we design this AI system so it's fair and unbiased too? How can we ensure that it respects, data privacy? How can we make it transparent and explainable?
Right. So it sounds like this step requires a lot of collaboration between different teams, right? Like developers, data scientists, maybe even like ethicists and legal experts.
You're absolutely right. It's definitely a team effort. And it requires a shared understanding of the importance of responsible AI. But the benefits are definitely worth it. By integrating these considerations up front, you can avoid a lot of, potential problems down the road, both ethical and practical.
That makes sense. I mean, prevention is always better than cure, right? So what are the last 2 steps in this like 4-step model?
Okay, so the third step is calibrate, which is all about adapting your AI solutions to your specific local conditions and the, ever-evolving landscape of technology.
So it's about recognizing that AI isn't like a one-size-fits-all solution. You need to tailor it to your like specific context.
Exactly. And it's also about being prepared to, adapt. As technology changes, the AI landscape is constantly evolving, so you need to be flexible, willing to adjust your approach as needed.
So it's about staying agile, right? Being willing to learn and iterate as you go.
Absolutely. And the final step is disseminate, which focuses on creating a culture of learning and, knowledge sharing within your organization around responsible AI practices.
So it's about making sure that everyone in the company is on the same page.
Yeah.
And they understand, the importance of using AI ethically and sustainably.
Exactly. It's about creating a shared, vocabulary, providing like training and resources, and fostering open communication and dialogue around these issues.
Right. So it sounds like this step is crucial for ensuring that responsible AI becomes like ingrained in the company culture, not just, a one-off project or something.
Absolutely. It's about making responsible AI a core part of your company's, DNA.
So this 4-step model provides a really like clear and actionable roadmap for businesses to follow. And it's great to see how the Sustainable AI Radar can be used in conjunction with, each step to provide more specific guidance.
Yeah, I agree. They complement each other really well.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, from the principles of sustainable AI to the practical steps of actually implementing it. We've explored, a lot of different aspects of this complex and rapidly evolving field.
And it's only going to become more important, right, as AI continues to play a more significant role in our lives.
Absolutely. So before we wrap things up, I want to leave our listeners with, a few key takeaways.
That's a great idea. Let's summarize what we've learned today and then, provide some actionable advice for businesses who are maybe looking to like embark on their own sustainable AI journey.
Perfect. Let's do that. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've spent this episode talking about sustainable AI, what it is, why it's so important, and how businesses can actually use a tool like the Sustainable AI Radar to put it into practice.
Yeah, and we've seen how even companies that aren't, typically associated with sustainability, like Prior One with their data centers, they can really implement these principles and see some real benefits.
Right, and we've outlined a four-step model. Translate, integrate, calibrate, and disseminate. A real roadmap to help guide businesses, on this journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So now let's break it all down into some advice that our listeners can actually use. Like if they're ready to take that next step, where should they begin?
Hmm. Well, the first step, and it might sound like deceptively simple, but it's to just really sit down and reflect on your company's values.
Yeah.
Like, what do you stand for? What kind of impact do you want to have on the world?
That's such a good point because sustainable AI, it's not just about, following some rules or checking off boxes. It's about making sure that your AI initiatives actually align with what really matters to your business.
Exactly. So once you have a really solid understanding of your values, then you can start to ask yourself, okay, how can AI help us actually live those values?
Yeah.
More fully. How can we use this technology to not only make our business better, but also make the world a little bit better too?
And the Sustainable AI Radar is a great tool to help guide you through that process. For example, the START requirements level. It asks you to consider if an AI project is truly necessary. Does this align with our core values? Will it benefit our employees, our customers, society in general?
Right. And the sustainability potentials level.
Yeah.
That encourages you to think outside the box a bit. Like, how can we actually use AI to address some of these, social or environmental challenges that we're all facing? Maybe it's about using AI to be more energy efficient, or maybe it's about using AI to create, products that are more sustainable.
Yeah, the possibilities are really endless. It's all about your own company's values and, your own context.
Okay, so let's say a business has done that soul searching.
Yeah.
They've really reflected and they've identified some, promising opportunities for sustainable AI. What happens next?
Well, that's where those 4 steps, translate, integrate, calibrate, and disseminate, come in. So you start by translating those values, the ones you just identified, into some specific, actionable guidelines for AI development. So you have to ask yourself, okay, what does transparency actually look like for our AI system? Or how will we make sure that this AI is fair? And how can we avoid bias?
I imagine that translation step requires, a lot of collaboration. You have to bring a lot of different people to the table, not just the tech people, but also people who really understand, the company's culture
Yeah,
and its values too.
exactly. It's so important to have diverse perspectives at this stage. Then when you move into the integrate phase, that's when you start to actually weave those guidelines into the design and development of your AI system.
Right. So it's not just like a separate document or anything. It's part of the process from the very beginning.
Exactly. And again, the Sustainable AI Radar is really useful here. It can give you those prompts and questions to help guide the discussion. Like, how can we make this system more explainable so users can understand how it makes decisions? Or what data are we using to train this AI? Are there any biases in that data that we need to think about?
Right. And then as you move on to those last 2 steps, calibrate and disseminate, it's all about staying, adaptable and continuously learning, right? And creating a culture where everyone in the company feels empowered to contribute to responsible AI.
Yeah, I think that's key because sustainable AI isn't just a one-time project or anything, right? It's an ongoing process. It's a journey. You're always learning, always improving.
And we can't forget that, this isn't just about being like ethical or whatever.
Right.
It's actually good for business. Companies that are using AI in a sustainable way, they're building trust.
Yeah.
With their customers and their employees and the public.
Yeah.
They're attracting, good employees.
Yeah.
And they're setting themselves up for success in the long run.
Absolutely. It's an investment. That pays off on multiple levels.
So for any of you out there listening, if you're a decision maker at an SME and you're feeling a little overwhelmed by AI, remember that you don't have to do this alone. There are tools out there and resources, even consultants if you need them, to help you figure this all out.
Just start by thinking about your values. Explore the possibilities with the Sustainable AI Radar and take those first steps towards a future where technology benefits everyone.
That's a perfect way to end the episode. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive. We hope you found it insightful and useful. Keep learning, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.